you are still going through the interview process, hence the CJO. You don't have the job yet. It's a conditional job offered, so they can kick you out of there at any time. All right, so what can you expect from this video? You can expect me to read you the answers from those flight attendants that went through the training process, and they literally just got out of training. And thank you to the two lovely ladies that I was able to interview for this video. Thank you so much. You made this possible, and we are going to be helping lots of people. Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Rhonda. I am your humble flight attendant and your favorite. Just kidding. I'm a flight attendant for a major US airline, and today we are going to be talking about the flight attendant training process, the initial flight attendant training. Now, we do have two different types of training. One is the initial process, and the second one is the recurrent training. So the recurrent training is the one, once you've become a flight attendant, you have to go back every single year to get recertified to continue to fly. Now, the initial training is what I am guessing you are looking forward to, which is why you're surfing the internet, looking for any answers as to what you can expect in your training. And I can tell you that you are lucky and in good hands. All right, so why do I say this? I haven't been to initial training in about 5 years. I have done the yearly recurrent, which is the certification process every year flight attendants have to go through. But you are in luck because I just flew with 3 different flight attendants who just got out of training, and I was able to interview them for this video because I had one of my beautiful subscribers who is going to training. I've had a couple of you who are heading to training, and I am so excited for you. All right, so what can you expect from this video? You can expect me to read you the answers from those flight attendants that went through the training process, and they literally just got out of training. They were completing their IOE. And what is IOE? It is the last process out of training to show and prove, where you're not shadowing anymore, you're not role playing in a classroom, you're actually performing what you've learned in the classroom. And I had these flight attendants on my flight doing exactly that. So after the entire process, I was able to interview them about the training process and how that went, and what someone like yourself who's surfing the internet right now looking for answers can expect when going to training. So without further ado, guys, let's get into the video. You're gonna see me looking down because I have my paper in my notes here. So let's get into question number 1, guys. What can one expect when going to flight attendant training? This flight attendant who just got out of training said that you guys should treat it as an ongoing interview. And she is not lying. That is exactly what it is. Everything you do is being watched. Believe it or not, it is. You are still going through the interview process, hence the CJO. You don't have the job yet. It's a conditional job offered, so they can kick you out of there at any time. So please, 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 treat it as an ongoing interview process, because that's exactly what it is. Another thing that this flight attendant said was, be mindful of the company's dress code. So whatever airline you're going to, they're going to tell you acceptable training outfits. So make sure that you read the fine print and you pack your suitcase accordingly. Most times it is business casual, depending on the airline. I don't want to speak for every single airline. However, what she's saying here is truth. Even my time, you had to dress in business casual. They had one day that was casual day, but that was practical, where we could wear jeans, but that was the only day. So please, please, please read the fine print. They are not joking when they tell you business casual. You have to dress like that every single day, except for the days that they tell you you can come in casual clothes. Also, make sure your personal life is not too distracting, because you are going to need a lot of focus on training. Do not get distracted by your personal life, whatever it is. However long you are going to be attending training, make sure that whatever else is going on in your personal life is able to wait. You do not want to get yourself up into this process from interviewing, applying, getting, the first interview, the second interview. Like, it's crazy. You don't want to go through all of that and end up not getting a job just because you were distracted by something in your personal life. So what she is saying essentially is, make sure you check all your problems at the door when you enter into training. And your classmates, those are going to be your rock. So try getting along with them. I mean, you're probably not going to get along with everyone, but try your best, to get along with people, because those are the people you're going to be going through that process with. No one's going to understand what you're going through like the people you're in training with. So you all are going to have each other's back. And so don't be peer pressured. If you are the kind of person that, like to stick to yourself, follow that, but still be able to communicate with others, because these people are going to be your co-workers when you graduate from training. Like, you don't have a place to stay, or you get put in a base that you don't live in. These might be some of the things that you can look back to those people and those friendships you form. They might be able to get you a place to stay. So you do not want to be on an island by yourself in training. Get to know your classmates. Question number 2, I asked flight attendant number 1, what was the most difficult test for you? In training, they have different topics from first aid to emergency equipment, and you have a fire drill, and like basically every hat that's on the ground, flight attendants wear them up in the air. I was like a cop. If 2 people are arguing on the plane, you are the one that they look to. If there's a disagreement, you play lawyer. If someone's having a heart attack, they look to you. So you wear a lot of different hats. And in training, you're going to be learning at least a little bit about every single thing. Not that you're going to be an expert by any means, but you are going to be aware of what you need to do in any situations, because you are primarily a first responder. So be prepared. All right, back to the question. So I asked the flight attendant, I said, what was the most difficult test for you? For me, during my time in training, it was the security test, because it was just a lot. And it was one of the most important because our job is very detailed. Not much I can speak about on the internet, but you have to learn a lot about security. That, for me, it wasn't hard, but it was just a lot of information in such short time, and they were all very condensed. But I made it through, and so will you. All right, so let me give you her answer. The most difficult test for this flight attendant was aircraft familiarization. So familiarizing yourself with the aircraft and all of the equipments and where they're located. Again, I can't tell you too much, but that was her most difficult part during training. And I can see how that can be difficult, because it's a lot. It's a lot. It's not just one thing. It's like multiple things located different parts of the aircraft, and you have to learn those things. So make sure you pay attention. And sometimes some of the answers, how people do questions and answers, and they give you multiple choice, and some of the answers are so close to get confused. And then you have, some of the answers where they're just completely out of there, and you're like, yeah, that's not that. Have to really, really study to familiarize yourself with the equipments on the aircraft, because you are going to be working with these equipments. If there's an emergency, you need to know where to look, where they are, and how to handle that emergency. So this is one of the topics you need to be prepared for. I'm not trying to scare you, but it's a lot. So another question that I asked the flight attendant was, what was your study strategy? All right, so the first flight attendant told me that her study strategy was studying by herself, which is something I highly recommend, because I did exactly the same. And then after you've studied by yourself, you understand a little bit, then you go into the group setting. This all depends on how you retain information and how you prefer to study. But my method and hers was studying by yourself, trying to understand the information first, a little bit at least about the topic before going into the group study. So that way you can have multiple people trying to learn the same thing. So everybody has a way of learning something. Somebody might crack a joke that might make you remember certain things. So that is why it is also good to study with other people, because people have different ways of retaining information. You know, I might say things 4 or 5 times. Somebody might make a joke out of, you know, a certain topic, and once you see that on a test, you remember that person's joke, and it helps your memory gains. Her method and mine as well was studying by yourself in your room, and then going downstairs or wherever the study groups meet to study with them. Obviously, if it is too noisy and if that is not how you learn, do whatever works for you. It's what I would say, but hers and mine obviously was what I just told you. Right, question number 4. What got you through training? All right, so I asked her what got her through training, and her answer was really, really interesting. I thought it was really honest. She had told me what got her through this training was the fact that she told everyone at her old airline that she was leaving and heading to my airline. So that was her motivation for getting her through training, because if she didn't pass the training, well, she would have been out of a job, because she had already quit her previous job and was in training with a new company. So that was her motivation for obviously pushing through. And for you, maybe you're not coming from another airline, so your motivation can be, why do you want to be a flight attendant? You know, why? So for me, it was my mother. You know, she had always wanted to do this. So when I got the job and I went through training, I was like, yeah, there is no failing this. This is the job for me. And I had also told my boss, deuces, because I just knew that it was time for me to spread my wings. And she asked me, hey, do you want a raise? And I said, no, you know, I'm fine. I have done my time here, and now it's time for me to go be a flight attendant. So imagine walking out on the raise and going to this new job and not passing. So I had those little chips on my shoulder, and I had something to prove, not only to myself, but I wanted to make my mother proud. So that was one thing that kept me going. So you can find what motivates you, what keeps you going, and let that be your driving force of how you get through training. Obviously, this young lady made a public service announcement that she was leaving and she was heading to my company. And yeah, if she had failed, that wouldn't have been, pretty. So that was her motivation. Find yours. Tell me in the comment what your motivation is going to be getting you through training. I really want to know that. Mine was my mother. Hers was the fact that she made an announcement to everyone. And I want to hear yours. All right, let's get to the next question. Right, so the final question I asked this flight attendant was, what is your advice for new hires? Someone heading to training, you right now looking at this video. All right, so this is her advice for you. Treat it like school. You know, when you want to get into the next class, when you want to graduate, treat it like that, because you want the job and this is how you're going to get the job. If you don't pass training, you do not become a flight attendant. So this is your gateway to becoming a flight attendant. So treat it as a must. Do not overpack. Well, I might have. Leave room for your uniform, because should you graduate, you are going to be bringing home your uniform. So she wants you to leave room in your bags for your uniform. I didn't. I squeezed it in there. But yeah, don't overpack. Don't stress. I guess that's what she's trying to get at. Don't let like what I'm going to wear, you know, don't stress about that. Have a good black pants, a nice black or blue dress or red, whatever the airline color is. Just have colors that are not going to get dirty really easily, and because you're not going to have a lot of time to be all dolled up. You're not going to have a lot of time to do that. So make sure that you have colors that are able to withstand a lot of heat. No, don't be smelly, okay? We cannot be smelly in training. We are professionals, we're flight attendants, and we are fabulous. So make sure you have your Sunday's best. Don't take too much time thinking about your Sunday's best. Do not break the rules. This is a really good one. She said, do not break the rules. And I am saying it to you too. Do not get in trouble. Do not. Believe me, you don't want to study your brain off and make it through training, but get kicked out because somebody looked at you the wrong way, and you have to express yourself and it escalates into something that you did not intend it to. I told them, turn the other cheek. If you see somebody acting really crazy, just walk away. Give you one advice on how I am able to just walk away from situations. I do that on the plane. If a passenger is getting heated with me and I know that it's not going to end up in any kind of positive way and I can't get through to them, I get somebody else to get through to them. I do not have to argue with you or escalate situations that don't need to be escalated, because that's not going to serve me. That's not going to serve you. It helps no one. So how I learned the hard way with my parents is that when I argue with my brother and we went to the judge and the jury, which was my dad and my mom, they would punish both parties. So I'm like, but he was wrong. And they're like, we don't care who's wrong. One person could have walked away. And the reason why we're punishing both of you is because no one made that choice to walk away. So you can always, always, always walk away. All right. So what she is saying here is absolutely correct. I want to encourage you, do not let a conflict in class or you being nosy, poking your nose in drama, spearheading drama, trying to be, the voice of everyone, get you kicked out of training. There's nothing wrong with being a pleasant, kind, loving flight attendant. All right? So that is the model you need to carry into training. Do not go acting crazy, try to show them who you are, They do not like that. Stay out of trouble. Study, 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 and study again, and study again, and study again. I'm serious. Yeah, it's not a joke. And one thing I realized studying does is it actually does help your confidence. Right now you might feel very anxious, very nervous, anxiety running through the roof. But I tell you, girl, guy, if you study, man, you are not going to be as nervous, because at least you know that you can fall back on your knowledge. It's not like you absolutely don't know what you're doing. So study, study, study. When all else fails, study again. I feel really bad because one of my really, really good girlfriends that I was looking forward to getting out of training with, we became really close friends in training, ended up not graduating. You do not want to be that. I was devastated for her. She was devastated as well. And also, do not depend on your study buddy. I'm telling you this from experience. I had two friends go home. One was because she didn't make it through one of the tests and she ended up going home. The other one, I kind of blamed myself for it because I was her study buddy. We had decided that, hey, we're gonna study at this time. So usually, like I said earlier in the video, she'll study on her own, I study on my own, and then we go downstairs and then we study together. So my grandfather was a teacher, hence why I'm over here trying to help everyone. So I played the same role in training where, once we all study individually, we go downstairs and we study together. So she told me one of the tests that she didn't really understand, she didn't think she was going to do well in that particular topic. So I understood the topic. So I said, hey, once you're done studying, later on, we're going to come downstairs and we're going to study together and I'm going to help you. But it was so exhausting. The 3 weeks and a half was, it's never enough because you have to learn so much in so little time, and you're going to work for training technically. But you are going there for 8 hours a day. After the class session, you have to come home, decompress, study, and then go back the next day, probably take a test on what you just learned. So it was a lot. I told her, I said, I will come and I'll help you. I feel terrible about it, but that's why I'm trying to explain to you, you cannot depend on other people, because my body was so tired. When I went to bed, I never woke up. And the next morning when I woke up, she came into my room, she was knocking the door. And when I woke up, I was like, oh snap. I didn't wake up to help my friend. And I was like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, you know, I study. I thought you were gonna come down and you didn't. I was like, I fell asleep. I'm so sorry. And we went and we took that test that day. She didn't make it. She ended up going home that day. I felt terrible, but my body was so tired that I couldn't wake up. I just had to sleep. Because one thing you cannot do in training is you cannot sleep in the classroom. That is a no-no. You will get kicked out. And if you're working and you are sleeping, you get fired. That is a no-no in the aviation industry. So I just had to sleep, or else I would have been sent home. But I still feel terrible to this day that I wasn't able to be there for my friend. So my advice to you would be, study on your own. Is why I say that. Study on your own. Do not depend on anybody else. It's not that I'm not a reliable person or a reliable friend. It wasn't on purpose. I just slept through the night. And because I had prior understanding of the topic, is what helped me. Because it's not like I did like any extra studying. I literally fell asleep. So make sure what she is saying here, that you are studying, and studying. And do not feel bad for studying by yourself, is one of the things that she mentioned. If you are the kind of person that loves to study by yourself and you don't do well with other people, do that. You can mingle with them when you go to class, but do not be ashamed to study by yourself. Do that. If that is what it takes to get you through training, you made it all the way to training by yourself, and you can do it by yourself. If that is how you study, do not depend on other people. I am a living witness. That is not one of my proudest moments, but I hope that you can use it as a tool to help you on your journey. You got yourself through the application process. You got yourself through the assessment test. You got yourself through 2 interview process, and you got the freaking job. You can do it. There's no point in stressing out of your mind to where you're on the test and you are so nervous and you misremember things. Please guys, share this video in groups that you're in. Share this on Facebook, Reddit, to anyone that you think can benefit from this process that you're going through. Share this with any of your friends that is heading to training with you. Like the video. This pushes the video out to more people. And also, give your girl a subscribe. Don't be shy. Join the crew. We're a lovely family over here, and we'll love to have you. You got yourself this far in the process. So all you need to do is stay calm, study, and show and prove. Show them why they were right in selecting you. Why you need to be on the line, why you need to be bouncing around with your heels on and your bag and your scarf and your wings, and you know, we need you on the line, girls and guys. Let's get into the next flight attendant and her answers. So I asked her the same set of questions. So if you want to stick around for it, she has a different perspective. That's why I made sure to ask 2 flight attendants so that I can get different perspective on the same subject, which is what you're looking for. This is my little pep talk, and I am going to end this video here because I don't want to make it super long. Why I love to still hang out with you guys. I sadly have to go, and this has been really fun sharing these informations with you. Once again, thank you to the 2 lovely ladies, and I'll see you in the next video, or I'll see you in the skies. Stay pleasant. Bye-bye.